Oh, Lord. Okay, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today I'm at a desk strewn with the detritus of the last video that I was trying to make. Once again, whenever I do anything instrument related, it takes way longer than I think it's going to take. I was trying to do a video doing new strings and a setup on my Fender JMJ road-worn Mustang bass, and it ended up taking like 2 hours to record the video when I was hoping it would take about half an hour. So we're short for time again, but we have all sorts of things I wanted to talk about. We may need to move some things around. I think I have a fun thing that we're gonna do next week. I'm constantly struck, if any of you are followers of photographers or photography in general on Instagram, you will probably have noticed the same thing, but I'm constantly struck by this certain look that you see a lot on Instagram, especially with black and white photography on Instagram. And I'm not doing this as a way of like calling people out and saying, oh, I do it better than you, or this is stupid, or it's just something I've noticed, and I know exactly which sliders people are using on Lightroom to get this certain look. And it's just weird to me. So we're gonna talk about this, the Instagram look. I know I've kind of touched on this before, but I guess more in general, it's about what kinds of photographs seem to get attention on social media websites and whether or not those are good photographs or whether or not we should be going for that kind of thing. So I want to talk about that next week. This week, I'm going to talk about some interesting little anecdotes that have been happening to me recently. People mistaking me for a homeless person. We'll get into that. But basically, we have upcoming videos, things you can look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon. We'll get into my little anecdotes. I'm not a homeless person. We'll get into that. Then we'll have your questions, comments, and feedback and hashtag askstuffandthings. And then, of course, we will end the show as usual with our Patreon shout-outs and updates. So let's get into it. All right, gang, what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things YouTube and Stuff and Things Patreon coming up? Well, first of all, this coming week, we will have the Fender JMJ road-worn Mustang bass changing the wiring harness on my Fender JMJ road-worn Mustang bass, something that I have never done before. I have done some soldering in the past, but never on expensive musical instruments. So I was a little worried about it, but we did it. It's kind of a video to show that you don't always have to go to a professional. You can do a lot of things yourself if you just do a little bit of research. And even a doofus like me can put a new wiring harness in their bass guitar. So check that out. This is coming up this week. Monday, early and ad-free on Patreon. Wednesday on YouTube. Then the week after will be an exclusive Patreon video. I'm not going to like this. Cult Conspiracy. Interesting blend for sure. That will be exclusive to Patreon, so be sure to check that out. A very obvious aromatic blend with vanilla and honey. Ugh. And then the week after that, we're keeping with a little bass stuff, but that's going to be it for the bass stuff. We have a bunch more photography things coming up, but I wanted to show you a string change and setup on the JMJ Mustang bass. After that, I've got some film I'm developing and quite a few other little things that I want to show you with photography, especially I shot a couple rolls of, well, I guess only one roll now of color film. I did Portra 800, which I haven't shot anything in color with film for well over a year, almost 2 years maybe. So this is going to be interesting to see what I get back from those. And then there's kind of some updates on my Leica M4, what's been going on with that, and I want to show you some film as a result of some of the things that I have done with the M4. So all sorts of stuff, good stuff coming up. Photography, music, pipe stuff on Patreon, so just stay tuned for all of it. It's all coming. Stay tuned. But now for some anecdotes. Gang, everything just keeps getting worse, doesn't it? I'm not even talking about politically, I'm just talking about in so many aspects. And you just notice all these little things start building up. And if you are prone to outbursts of deadly rage, then maybe that could be an issue. But for most people, these things just keep happening and you keep getting this like tick damage and you're just like, ugh, ugh, ugh. And maybe, I don't know, there's something you can do to de-stress every once in a while, but I don't know, there's just all these little things. So recently, one of the little pleasures that I have in my life, and I mean a little pleasure, and I don't have many, let me tell you, is that when I get off work, I like to, go home, I work out, I do the chores and stuff that I need to do, and I'm always rushing because I want to run out, grab my camera, go downtown, and I love to go to my little coffee shop that's right downtown. I get a cup of coffee, just drip coffee, and I sit outside. I do some people watching, some decompressing, and then I will, after doing that, go about walking around, taking pictures. It's something that is just a real simple pleasure for me. And I've been doing this for 2 years, almost every single day, depending on, in the winter, I might get off so later, it might be dark by the time I get off work. But in the summer, especially, I always go. And now, the last few days, I've tried to do it. I'm getting downtown after 5, because that's by the time I've gotten off work and gotten ready. And the place is supposed to be open till 6. It always was open till 6. And for a couple days, I was going there and it was closed. What is going on? Why is this place closed? And finally, the last time, it was yesterday, I tried to go. It was closed again, and there was somebody who was leaving the place and locking up. And I guess it's an owner, even though I've seen 4 different people who I thought were the owners, but apparently none of them are. They don't actually ever work in the place, but occasionally they come in and they'll be bringing supplies or doing something. This is someone I'd never seen before, but he was leaving. And I noticed he had put a new sign on the door that said hours 7:30 to 3, which basically means I can never go there. I'm never off work that early. I guess on the weekends I could go occasionally, but it basically means that I can never go anymore. And I asked him, what's up? Why did you change the hours? He's like, oh, it's been really rough. We're not making enough money to pay our staff. And basically he laid out how they're not making enough money, and so they can't be paying staff to be open for as many hours as they would like. And so to hopefully get back on their feet, they're drastically cutting back hours. And then also, he said they adjusted their prices, which means they've jacked up all their prices. Now, I understand things are difficult. It's tough to run a business and all these things, but my first thought was, so in order to make more money, you are cutting down the time in which people can go to your establishment, and then you're raising all the prices. That seems counterintuitive. My first thought would be, oh, I'm the owner of this place. Why don't I come in and take some shifts? I have never seen, I don't know how many owners they've had, but I've never seen anyone other than their hired baristas working in there. So maybe that would be a thought. Keep it open the same amount, but just cut staff a bit and you take on some of those shifts. But I don't know, it's just irritating. That's it. That's the only coffee shop downtown that is just a normal coffee shop. And now the hours are such that I can never go to it. There are several kind of weird foo-foo shops where it's like $8 for a just cup of drip coffee and everything is really just not the kind of scene I'm looking for. And this was the only place where you could sit outside and people watch with your coffee. It was great because I could go in there, the barista would immediately just have my drip coffee ready for me because that's all I ever got. You had your little punch card. I just hate it. Another little pleasure is gone. The other anecdote I wanted to tell you about, look at me right now. I typically kind of look like this unless I've been working. When I'm working, I look more bedraggled. I'm all dirty, but I'm wearing, I think, pretty obviously work clothes. When I'm walking around, especially in the summer, I'm usually wearing a t-shirt or a tank top or something. Usually got a hat on. I wear Levi's Premium, mind you, 517 bootcut jeans or 501 straight leg jeans. Just like normal clothes. I think I look like a normal person, probably. But for 3 times in the last 3 weeks, I have been confused for a homeless person. And I don't know what's going on. So the first time this happened was a few weeks ago. I was outside. I've got my Leica M4 hanging around my neck. And I was wearing, I think I had a band t-shirt, probably the Cribs, like a white band t-shirt. and I was wearing my 517 Levi's Premium bootcut jeans. I think I had my Chisos cowboy boots on that I reviewed years back on the show. I had my Domke camera bag, wearing a hat, got a watch on. Like, I think I just looked like a fairly normal person. And I was excited, well, not excited, but I was slightly pleased because I was walking around. I saw a very attractive but much too young woman. She was like college-age girl. She was with a guy, but she walked by and she caught my eye and she said, "Oh, you just look great. I just wanted to tell you how much I love your outfit. You look amazing." And I thought, "Oh, you know what? Thank you." And to me, that was a nice little confidence booster. Here's an attractive young woman digging what I'm wearing. She's appreciating my style. I think she said you have great style at one point too. And so, you know, that was nice. It's like, okay, feeling a little good, feeling good. Not 5 minutes later, I'm walking around downtown with my camera, and one of these people who I see downtown, I don't know exactly what they're affiliated with or anything, but they have little lanyards, high-vis vests, and they're often interacting with the homeless people around. So I'm assuming there was some kind of outreach program or something. I don't know. One of them came up to me and said, "Hey, you see Norman around?" I went, I don't know who that is. I think maybe you're confused me with somebody else." And he's like, "Oh, I mean, you're one of the guys out here, right?" And I was like, "The guys out here? What do you mean?" And he's like, "You know, and then he kind of looked at me and got embarrassed and then was like, "Oh, never mind," and walked away. And I realized that he meant, "Oh, you're one of the homeless guys, right? The guys who hang out downtown on the street corners. And you would know who Norman is." I don't know who Norman is. So that was one. I thought it was kind of funny that my esteem had been built up a little bit by an attractive woman saying that she liked my style, and then it got knocked down by the guy assuming I was homeless. About a week later, I was standing outside, not even standing, I was walking, again with my Leica M4 vintage film camera, and then a homeless person came up to me and was like, "Oh, where's Johnny at?" Like, "Johnny, I don't know." He's like, "Yeah, Johnny, where are you at?" Like, I don't know. I don't know Johnny. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. I didn't say that specifically, but I just said, again, yeah, I don't know who Johnny is. And he got a little closer to me and was like, "Oh, you know Johnny." And then he sort of looked at me a little bit closer and was like, "Oh," and realized, "Oh, you're not a homeless person. I thought you were a homeless person like me from half a block. But now that I've gotten up close to you, I can sort of see that maybe you're not actually a homeless person." So that's twice in 2 weeks that I was confused for a homeless person. Then yesterday, when I finally found out that my favorite coffee shop was never going to be open when I could actually go there anymore, and that even if I could go there, they've jacked up all the prices, I was feeling annoyed. I was walking around, again, with my camera bag, my jeans, my boots, my vintage Leica film camera, and this woman comes up to me. She looked like the kind of woman who would call you darling. She's like a waitress at a old school cafe who would call you sweetheart or darling, like that kind of woman. She came up to me and she said, "You know, Meals Not Bombs is serving dinners over on the corner of Magnolia and Cornwall." And I went, "Okay." Like thinking, okay, why is she telling me this? And she said, "Do you know where that is?" And then I went, "Oh, okay. She is maybe a homeless person." She didn't look necessarily homeless, but you never know. I was like, okay, maybe she is, and she heard about this, and she wants me to give her directions where to go. So I said, "Oh yeah, it's like 2 blocks down that way, and then a block down that way is the corner of Magnolia and Cornwall." And she went, "That's right. Very good. Maybe I'll see you there." And then walked away. So she was condescendingly asking me if I knew how to make it to the corner of Cornwall and Magnolia, because obviously I am homeless and I need to have a free meal served to me on the corner of Cornwall and Magnolia. And so before I could say anything, she's like, "Good job. Maybe I'll see you there," or "I hope to see you there." And then she walked off, and it's like, I'm not homeless. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not. Yet. All right, gang, but now it's time for hashtag Ask Stuff and Things. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like to answer it on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag Ask Stuff and Things, but you probably shouldn't because nobody does, and I never read Twitter/X anyway. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can write to me via Patreon. Go right to the front of the line. If you hit that super thanks button under this video, you can leave me a question and go right to the front of the line, or you can leave questions, comments, and feedback in the comment section of my YouTube videos, just like our good friend at Chris Caughey did. This is for last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. Chris says, I grew up in Phoenix. So I was talking about how I don't really do anything for 4th of July anymore because I have no children and like kids. When I was younger, friends I would have hung out with, we might have like run off and done fireworks or something, but now everyone's married, everyone has kids, but I'm not and I don't, and so I don't really do anything for the 4th. Chris says, I grew up in Phoenix. For 4th of July, we would drive out about an hour and a half north to Prescott. Northern Arizona is nothing like the desert south. It has pine trees and mountains and lakes and streams. We would always have a picnic in the forest in the late afternoon. Then we would go set up lawn chairs on the baseball field of Prescott High School to watch the fireworks. After the fireworks, we would always go to Baskin & Robbins for ice cream on the way home. Now that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the kind of childhood memory that you look forward to. It's just, you just know exactly what's going to happen, and the familiarity is so comforting and nice. And that little detail about Baskin & Robbins, I love that. That's exactly the kind of memory I'm talking about. And then I'm Just Here to Grill says, the older I get, the more I realize how critical families are to fostering culture. I'm in a similar position of not having children. My family is aging and my friends have moved on or are busy with their kids. Things are very different when you don't live in community. Yeah, that's kind of what bums me out about the whole coffee shop thing too, is it kind of is what bums me out about the whole coffee shop thing. I think that's a sentence, is because I would see people there and I would interact with them. Like there was this old guy, Nick, who had had a stroke, but he was a jazz musician before that. And it's really interesting because the way you have to talk to him, he can understand you, but he can't get the words out. Like he's a guy I would see a lot. He always was playing chess with people. We would chat. There were other people I'd chat with. I'd chat with the baristas. And that was kind of it for social interaction every day. So that's what I mean. It's like, or that's what you mean, maybe. I'm just here to grill. There's that sense of community, being with other people. At Ledger and Lay says, haha, no appreciation for the abreves? No. You can get flavorless collagen powder if you don't feel like making bone broth. So everyone's trying to get me to eat bones for some reason, which to me reeks of effort. Add it to your coffee, good for cartilage, joints, etc. Hamstring glute work can really help with lower back pain. Yeah, especially my hamstrings and ass are super tight all the time. Tight hamstrings can pull on the lower back, ditto for glutes, and I try to stretch out my hamstrings, and it's so, I don't know why my hamstrings are so tight. It's insane. It sounds like it's radiating around to your piriformis muscle as it's going into the groin. If you can find a massage therapist that does sports massage, it might help prevent another episode. I'm the same with holidays now. 4th of July used to be big with my family because my mother performed in the local oratorio society. And every July 3rd, we had a concert with patriotic songs, some old geezer who blathered on past dark, and then finally fireworks. One of my nephews said when he was 5, this is better than Christmas when we were watching the sky light up. Good times. Very good times. At Megan, oh, and thanks for the advice, Ledger and Lace. At Megan9436 said, I think you would have brought up the topic. I think if you would have brought up the topic, say 15 years ago, Canadians would have similar sentiments about nostalgia for Canada Day on July 1st. In the past, it was the same parades and fireworks every year. Because of that, people opted to do other activities if they celebrated it at all. But the last 16 months-ish has turned all this on its head, and we've been more patriotic than ever, thanks to the actions of your president. Well, you should thank Mr. Trump, then, for that. I observed Canada Day from Japan, and the online programming was so good. Bryan Adams even released a new song called 51st State. He's still kicking around, huh? I wish I could have been there. The events ended up getting rained out in Ottawa, with the main show getting canceled, but it looks like the spirits were still pretty high. I think Canadians have always been modest about patriotism, but the recent aggression from the current American administration has made us loud and proud. Well, yeah, you can thank Trump for something there, can't you? The stuff with Canada. I love Canadians. Canadians are great. But when I was a little kid, we had lots of stereotypes about Canadians because we interacted with them all the time. I lived up in the very far right, upper right-hand corner of the US, and Canadians were always coming down into America or into my state, my town. And this is the thing that, Europeans always talk about, like, oh, every American tourist is fat and loud. And that's obviously not true. It's just the ones they notice are fat and loud, and that's why they notice them. If I were to go to Europe, probably nobody would notice me, and nobody would think, oh, look at that annoying American, because I wouldn't be being annoying. They just wouldn't notice. So it's like a self-selecting group. The annoying tourist, the ugly American abroad, is because those are the ones that get noticed, and then people notice that they're American. So this is the same, I'm saying this is the same situation for the Canadians that used to come down, but they had a reputation as being as cheap as humanly possible, horribly rude, awful drivers. That was what we thought of as Canadians when I was a kid, because those were the Canadians we noticed. When you're driving and a Canadian cuts you off or goes super slow or does something stupid or doesn't use their turn signal, and you look up and you see a Canadian license plate, you're like, oh, Canadian drivers. When you go to the mall when you're a kid and there are all these Canadian cars, or all these cars with Canadian license plates, and all their owners are out stripping all the tags off of all the clothing they bought and then layering in themselves up in all these clothes so they don't have to pay duty when they go through the border, you notice that. Or when they've got shopping carts filled with milk and cheese, or when there are lines at the gas pumps because they've all come down to buy gas, or when I was a little kid and worked at a baseball card shop and they would argue with me over the difference of like 12 cents with the Canadian exchange rate. And they were very rude and it was just so obnoxious. And so I thought, Canadians suck. And so I had this idea that all their holidays were stolen from American holidays. They had a fake 4th of July for Canada Day. They had a fake Thanksgiving. I was like prejudiced against Canadians as a kid. And then I got older and realized, of course, these are not all Canadians. I met plenty of great Canadians. And you get older, you realize that these things are not what they seem. But I just think it's funny to hear I still have this like bent of making fun of Canadians in my head, because that is what I did as a child, and we all enjoyed making fun of Canadians when I was a kid. And then when I got older and had Canadian friends, I would still make fun of them and they would make fun of me because, we're siblings across the border. It's kind of fun. And so whenever I hear about Canada Day, I think about that fake 4th of July that those lame little Canadians are celebrating. But I'm glad the Canadians have been enjoying their 4th of July, and I obviously harbor no animosity towards Canadians whatsoever. Next, we have some feedback for the Blend Spotlight Ravenwood Frogmorton's Chalet, a frog light. And we have feedback from the person who made this review possible, our good friend Ted Stryker, who says, I'm glad you liked it. It's a nice blend that doesn't seem to be all that well known. I always found that, for me at least, that unique sort of ketchupy note, which McClellan was so known for, didn't do any favors for any of their blends containing Latakia. I found this blend to work overall much better than the original lineup as well. The obvious vanilla topping in this blend did kind of throw me off at first, but it did quickly grow on me. And I find it to work quite well as an after-dinner blend. Thanks as always. Cheers. Thank you very much for sending it along. It was a cool blend. I enjoyed it a lot. All right, gang. Thanks for all that feedback. Please keep it coming in. It really helps make the show go. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support Stuff and Things on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is much appreciated. It is vital to keep the videos you like coming. If you like anything that I post on YouTube, your support on Patreon makes those videos keep on coming. If you like anything that I post on Patreon, exclusive to Patreon, the pipe stuff that used to be on YouTube but had to be taken off YouTube and now be put on Patreon, $5 a month gets you in. Early ad-free access to the YouTube videos, exclusive access to the pipe stuff. Any of the new pipe stuff I post and a lot of the old pipe reviews are on Patreon now. New videos every single week, or old videos every single week too for the archive videos. $5 a month gets you in. Much appreciated, but every week we like to shout out those who support Stuff and Things at $25 or more a month. The producers of Stuff and Things. People like Jason Buckner, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, The Friendly Piper, GreatGrol, Glenn, Just Glenn, David Severin, Nicholas James, Kyle Whitmore, Mr. Gibson, Chris Caughey, Ted Stryker, and GandalfTheGrey. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support Stuff and Things at $100 a month, people like stolid and dependable Bob Magee. And we'll never forget our dearly departed friend and Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, what can you look forward to exclusively on Patreon this week? Well, Early and ad-free, you'll have the Fender JMJ Road-Worn Mustang bass, new wiring harness video. But then on Thursday this week, from the archive, we have the GLP's Fillmore review. Fillmore. So again, this is one of those videos that I was doing way back in 2017 where we thought Elizabethan was going off the market. It did go off the market, and I was trying to figure out what was going to be a replacement for Elizabethan. So Fillmore was definitely one of those options. I see a fruit fly. I'm going to kill it. That will have to wait until the video is over. But gang, stay tuned for all the good stuff coming up on YouTube, on Patreon. There's some bass stuff coming, music stuff coming, but we have lots of good photography stuff coming up as well, and I have a good topic for tomorrow. I just see it. It flew right in front of me. I think I missed. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a Sunday, Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.